NIO delivered 23,900 vehicles in April of 2025. By the way, this is the second best month they've ever done for deliveries, the best being at the end of 2024 in December when they had over 10,000 Onvo deliveries to go along with the NIO brand and those deliveries. So now, as you see on screen, we've got the picture of Firefly, just a few days of those numbers included. So in May, we should see those numbers get bigger. Also, I do think we'll see the L60 from Onvo eventually have more numbers on the delivery side of things. I believe 4,400 was the number for the month of April. And that's why I wanted to pull this up and share a couple of other things. I've got a few things queued up that I want to offer. This is the weekly numbers for NIO, for the NIO brand. And the last week or that same week, I want to show you what the Onvo L60 did, 1,470 for that week. Now, if we go back and look at where that would put that model, it would be in the third spot. That's consistent with the other week of data that I've seen on this. And so right now, I think the big challenge for Onvo and the L60 and Onvo moving forward with the new models that they'll come out with is market or brand awareness, which is also the challenge, I think, for NIO with the NIO brand, because I still think they are not widely known across China. And more on that in just a minute. I've got something queued up to show kind of what I'm thinking with this and to tie it into the earnings where William Li talked about the sales for NIO. This is just through the first quarter of the year 2025, and you've still got the L60, and this is again before or without the April numbers, still ranking in the top 5 for 200 to 300,000 RMB price range for BEVs, battery electric vehicles. And by the way, NIO with the ET5 Touring and the ET5 also ranking. How about the other NIO models, the ES6, the EC6 in the 3 to 400,000 RMB price range, also ranking. The ET7, the ES7 in the 4 to 500,000 RMB price range. The ES8, the EC7, and the ET9, which of course had just started deliveries, so we should see those numbers get bigger as well. And then the refresh models from NIO are coming this year as well. So I still think we've got a lot of positive things ahead for the rest of this year. How about the overall picture? And this is, again, just the first quarter. This is PV, passenger vehicle brands, the ICE or gas sales side of the business through the industry, and that's represented by the blue. Important to note that in China in the future, all of the blue will be gone. It will be replaced with either orange or green. The green being battery electric vehicles. Those are all that NIO is selling. And so with that, especially as we look at where, let's say, NIO is competing in their highest or premium price range, they're going up against Audi, Mercedes-Benz, and BMW, who continue to do a lot of sales, but the heavy majority of their sales are gas sales. So I still think there's a big piece of that market that NIO can take. Let's see what happens with the ET9 and the upgrade, the refresh models moving into the rest of the year and then beyond. This is just the BEV side of the business, the battery electric vehicle brands. And if you'll note here that NIO, again, this is just the first quarter with fewer than 30,000 and yet still at a 13 ranking. This is the Onvo making it, and I'll be curious to see if they make it here after this April data comes in. But with 17,000, and that's again without the 4,400 from April. So we'll see how they're going to look with new models coming out and with the brand awareness continuing to improve. And this is now where I want to kind of pivot and talk about Onvo and NIO and even Firefly, because as the NIO DNA for Onvo and Firefly becomes more recognized, I still think that NIO itself is still becoming known even within China. And here's kind of a nod to that. This is from the most recent earnings. This is William Li, and he says he ties this in with the importance of the Power Up plan, the Power Up County plan, where they want to expand more power swap stations, and that has been a key driver in helping brand awareness and sales. So the specific reference that I've highlighted is, he says, if you look at the cumulative sales volume of the NIO brand and the distribution of the sales, actually half of this volume is contributed by the sales in the Yangtze River Delta area. And for those who don't know, or like myself are Americans and pretty disconnected from the rest of the world, might not realize where that is. So I pulled it up here. This is just a small geographic region compared to the entire size of China. Here's what I mean. Here's the map of China. And so this is the NIO Power Up map as they're looking to expand and build out the power swap infrastructure. But if half of the sales are only coming from a small region of the country, it's not surprising that if folks across half of, let's say, if not the majority of the country still aren't familiar with NIO as a brand, then of course they're also not going to yet recognize Onvo or Firefly. And so it's important, I think, moving forward and I've got it at the bottom of the screen above the ticker, the first three major growth phases for NIO, that market awareness, the brand awareness. I still consider NIO in a lot of ways a startup. They're still a young company, at least with respect to the way I view them, which is as an IDE, an innovative driven enterprise. And so I do think that they have a massive and enormous global footprint potential. But even within China, which is itself a massive market, I think they still need to be better known and recognized. And I do think that William Li recognizes this. I think this has been an important acknowledgement by him about the importance and the relevance and the assistance and support that the power swap stations have actually brought to NIO with its sales. So again, as NIO, Onvo, Firefly, the release, the updating, the product lineup, the expansion, and then also in line with the infrastructure within China and then also abroad. I think that's all going to be important to track moving forward. Finally, call this your teaser if you stuck around to this point in the video, because I needed to share this. I want the people who haven't seen it to get over to the telescope and check out Sean with this video. If you haven't been to his channel before, I've referenced it a number of times in the past, and he does a phenomenal job. But he used to work for NIO, and he talks about how part of the reason he left NIO was because of the ET9 and what he realized NIO was trying to do. And there are some things that he shares in this video that are actually still being intentionally downplayed by William Li and NIO. And for good reason, I think. I believe they are so far ahead with some of their technology, and also a nod to the ADAS. And I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again right now. I do think NIO is going to surprise in the autonomous driving space. And I'll tie in a couple of, there are some dots to be connected that I'll actually talk about. Haven't shared about them yet. If you want a hint on that and to try and find it on your own, I'll give you one. The most recent SEC annual filing from NIO that just came out should have this. And yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to give too much away, but I know that other people, and I saw a lot of the NIO community had already been to the video and have seen it, but it is, I believe, worth a watch, especially if you're interested in NIO, or to maybe see just how far ahead of even some of the analysts covering NIO that we might be, some of us here in the retail global community for NIO. But in any event, let me get this video up and out. Have a great day. I'll see you all again very soon.